Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
This is the amazing Sara Milne, the author of this amazing book, published by Penguin, The Shed Method. It's an absolutely amazing book. I've been enjoying it. Many of you have been following me on Facebook, hearing me say what a great book it is. So tell me, one of the things I love, Sara, that you talk about in here is about limiting labels.
Yes.
Tell me a bit more about that.
Well, I think a lot of the people that I work with have an unconscious limiting label that they give themselves, and I suppose I'm in the life job of helping people break through those limiting labels.
Okay.
First of all, understand that they've got one for themselves, but also breaking through the idea of what else could you be. So I help people believe that they could actually break through any limiting belief if they've got a practice that enables them to do so.
Okay, because that's really interesting. I think a lot of people want to achieve things, but they get stuck, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
They feel that they're not sort of worthy of going any further.
Well, I think it's because they've just had a habit that's proved to them that they can only do one thing, or they can only be one thing. And so what I'm interested in is helping people build habits and practices that prove to themselves that actually they can be more than that.
Okay.
And that takes effort.
Yeah.
And so it's about being really focused on the things that you're saying to yourself, the things that you're doing, and believing that actually the more you do something that's different, the more actually you can acquire it and widen all sorts of things that you can do.
And what kind of things generally hold people back? When you've worked with hundreds of clients, probably thousands of clients all over the world, what things generally are holding people back?
Well, I think I'm going to be controversial here, but I think one of the things that really I notice is that the many psychometrics that are out there give people labels, like it or not. And sometimes that's useful, but where I see it less useful is when people believe that that is who they therefore are.
Okay.
And so things like, I just don't speak out very easily, or that's not me, or I don't like confrontation, or actually, I'm an introvert, so I don't do that sort of thing, or perhaps I'm just not good enough, or other people do that sort of stuff, I don't.
Okay.
And so I'm in the job of challenging that and saying, well, what if you could?
Okay.
And if you were to do that, and if you were good enough, what might be possible if you were to do that? And the actual choice of doing that is not enough.
Okay.
So the test for me is, so what are you going to put into place that's going to give you that experiment? Okay. And sometimes you might try something and you think, actually, do you know what, that isn't me, and that isn't what I'm strong at. But unless you try, and unless you have a practice that enables you to do that, in my view, you never find out.
Yeah. Okay, so it's that pushing yourself that little bit to really find out what you're capable of there.
Yes, and having a system to apply to test it.
It's very interesting because in our business we often categorise people by different personality types. So we say they're very detailed persons, we've got them green, they're different colours. And when people get that label, they suddenly go, well, I can't talk to people because I'm a detailed person.
Yes.
And they've, just like you say, they've completely labelled themselves. So
yes.
Very interesting.
And it happens way back, and people carry them all the way through their life unhelpfully.
Yeah.
So it's just challenging any assumptions that you're making about who you are and what you can do.
Okay. One of the things we were talking about this morning as well was about this kind of authenticity, being authentic, but then not allowing that almost as an excuse to hold you back.
Yeah. So I was working with a woman last week. She was going through a very tricky situation in a senior interview, and she was getting very angry about something that was happening. So if she'd been truly authentic, she would have let those people know that she was getting angry about it. And the work that I did with her is, how can you stay in a space of curiosity and actually get through to and focus on what really matters for you and not be distracted by that. And that meant that she had to act as if it didn't impact her the way that it was actually impacting her. Okay. So in my view, authenticity is obviously a great thing, and it's very important, but I think there are times in our lives where actually acting as if is very, very useful. Yeah. And in my background as a teacher, if I hadn't worked with students to push them into things that they felt they couldn't do, they would never have realised that they could do it. Yeah. And I think we should be doing more of that. as adults as well.
I love that. Well, thank you so much. That's really interesting. So if you haven't had a copy of this book, it's called The Shed Method. Now, this isn't any old book. This was selected by Penguin Books, most of you know, one of the biggest publishers in the world, and they actually approached you, didn't they?
They
said,
did,
we want you to write this book. It is a really, really interesting book. It's very simple to get your head around, but there's some fantastic techniques in there. I'll post the link to it on Amazon for after us so that everybody can get their copy. But thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We're here at the Ivy in London because, let's be honest,
Having had a lovely breakfast.
Having a lovely breakfast at the Ivy because, why not? But thanks everyone for tuning in, and thank you so much for joining us this morning.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Bye.